Debug logs in Salesforce are difficult to read without a tool like Nebula Logger. This is because these standard debug logs are limited in functionality. With the Nebula Logging Framework, we can control everything we need to get a full picture of our code. Today, I want to walk you through why you should use the Nebula Logging Framework and how to set it up. Salesforce debug logs are a great way of testing sandbox code, but can become a nightmare in production. Some of the problems include a 24-hour expiration date, 20 megabyte individual log size limit, and a 1000 megabyte total org limit. Not only this, but you need to proactively turn on logs to monitor problems. This almost entirely defeats the purpose of a defensive logging strategy. Enter Nebula Logger, a free open source project created by Jonathan Gillespie. This package allows you to fully customize your logging needs. Some of my favorite features of Nebula include ability to log in Apex and Flow, save logs as long as needed, and an easy-to-digest logging dashboard. Before we dive into the goodies, let's cover how to get this configured in your org. To install the latest version, go to the GitHub repo and select your preferred install method. It is recommended to use the Unlocked package. Once the package is installed, go to the Nebula Logger app in Salesforce, and you are greeted with the dashboard. The dashboard serves as a hub for viewing logs. It is a standard Salesforce dashboard that breaks logs down by creation date, tag, and the origin source. Each dashboard component is a report containing log entries. Log entries are grouped by parent log entry that can show multiple logger statements in a transaction. To start recording logs, we need to add logging statements to our code. Nebula Logger is great because it can be used in both Apex and Flow. For basic usage, we can take the following code and call the logger function like so. The big difference between the standard debug log and the logger framework is the need to save the logs at the end of a transaction. Like debug logs, we can use logging levels to categorize the severity of the logs. But out of all of these, I tend to use only the following. Another advantage to using Nebula Logger is that we can log data inside every type of Salesforce automation. To use in Lightning Web Components, you will need to create a reference to the logger component in JavaScript. You can do so by importing the Nebula Logger Lightning Web component and creating the logger. From here, add your log and run a save call. Do you like free Salesforce content? Let me know by hitting the subscribe button. To get the most out of Nebula, we need to use the additional features to better categorize our logs. These come in two flavors, tags and transaction IDs. Tagging is the idea of grouping logs by functionality. This means we can categorize logs together that are part of a larger business process. Let's say we have an integration running that needs to log error messages. We can take the standard logger.error and use the add tag method to tag it. We can also chain as many add tags as needed. And if method chaining isn't your style, we can pass a list of strings instead. Another problem with standard debug logs is working with async classes. It is almost impossible to tell what parent process initiated the sub-process. This is where we can set the parent transaction ID to link them. We can take a batch class and create a class variable original transaction ID. Inside the start method, we can update this variable's value using the getTransactionID method. From here, we can set the parent transaction ID function for every child process that will spawn from this batch class. Nebula Logger also has a way of sending notifications. Using Salesforce's favorite communication software, Slack, we can receive notifications for our logs. We can install the Slack plugin, go to Slack and configure a webhook for a channel, copy that URL and paste it into the Nebula Logger settings. Keep in mind that this URL has a secret key embedded in it and should not be made public. Define the logging level and watch your notifications come into Slack. And that's everything you need to get started with Nebula Logger. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video.